This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so I heard, did I hear that we have a quorum?
Yes.
Okay, all right, great. Let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. I call this meeting to order. Is there this statement?
Yes, I can read it if you'd like.
Say that again.
Like? I'll read it.
Okay, yeah, you go ahead and read it.
Okay. You can hear me? Yeah. Okay. In light of the 2020 COVID-19 virus and current guidance regarding physical distancing to reduce the potential for spread, meetings of the Richmond Regional Planning District Commission have transitioned to a virtual format. Regional public bodies were granted authority to conduct meetings electronically pursuant to the provisions of Virginia Code Section 2.2-3708.2 and related legislation approved by the General Assembly of Virginia during the period of the Governor's State of Emergency declaration for COVID-19. While we do not know the exact duration of the current practice of electronic meetings, we will continue to function in this manner until such time as it is deemed advisable to return to in-person meetings. Staff provided notice of this meeting and the means by which we are virtually gathered to members of the public on Monday, June 1st through electronic posting on the PlanRVA website and email distribution of notice to members, alternates, and known interested parties, including the media. This meeting will be recorded. Audio and visual recordings of the meeting and materials will be posted to the PlanRVA website within 48 hours of this meeting. Any member of the public participating as an observer during the meeting today may submit comments or questions at any time during the meeting via email to info@planrva.org or by using the online chat functions of the meeting platform. Those individuals who are observing by phone may be called upon to share questions or comments. This meeting agenda includes 2 opportunities for members of the public to address this body. All comments and questions submitted during the meeting will be reviewed following the meeting to the extent practical, and responses will be provided or posted on the PlanRVA website. We ask that everyone identify themselves first when speaking so that we can more accurately record the activities of the meeting. All lines have been muted by the meeting or administrator to minimize additional noise and feedback. You may unmute your line at any time to request acknowledgement from the chair. Staff will be monitoring the chat functions throughout the meeting to assure we do not overlook anyone wishing to participate as appropriate in the discussion. We do ask that you mute your own line, as when I mute it, you cannot unmute yourself. I will now ask our clerk to certify that we have followed the approved procedures for appropriate notice of this meeting and the means by which we are convening.
Yes, we have.
Thank you. Now we'll do the roll, so please indicate your presence here when your name is called during a roll call. Staff members will be asked to identify themselves, and anyone else who wishes to identify themselves following the roll of members will be invited to do so. Ms. Fusco, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Cota? Mr. Winslow?
Present.
Dr. Newbill?
Present.
Mr. Spoonhour?
Yes.
Mr. Davis? Reverend Nelson?
Present.
Miss Page? Mr. Nordvig? Dr. Spagna?
Here.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions regarding the process for assuring effective facilitation of this meeting, or if members of the public can participate?
All right, thank you, Martha, for sharing that. Let's continue through our agenda. As Martha indicated earlier, there's opportunity for public comment. One of those times is now. Speakers may address the commission for up to 3 minutes on any matters included in the meeting agenda. Speakers are requested their name, locality in which they reside, and if appropriate, the organization they represent. Members of the public may also submit comments through the chat function. Are there any members of the public who are here and will and wishing to speak to the Executive Committee of PlanRVA? All right, hearing no one. Let's move forward into business. You guys have the minutes from our March 13th, May 24th, 2020 meeting. I don't think Mr. Davis is here, is he?
He is not.
Okay.
No.
All right. Anybody have any questions about the minutes? Any corrections, concerns? All right, hearing none, can we get a motion from the floor to accept the minutes from the March and May meetings?
So moved, George Spagna.
Second, Neil Spinella.
All right, motion's been moved and second. Hopefully you got that, Diane. Moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Got to do the electronic roll call, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Winslow, Dr. Newbill,
Aye.
Mr. Spoonhour,
Aye.
Reverend Nelson,
Aye.
Dr. Spagna,
Aye.
All right, that's it. All right, so the motion has been passed. Thank you. All right, so the next item is the executive director evaluation. And Eric and I talked about this yesterday. Eric, do me a favor. Just can you kind of tee this up for me, and then I'll jump right back in.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that, Chairman Nelson. This matter has been sort of outstanding since January, March. Sorry, getting some feedback. The executive committee decided to push it off because we thought that we might be able to meet physically by now, but we're not. So, and it's getting to, this is the last meeting for June for this fiscal year. So this just needs to be resolved. It is fairly well resolved for Martha. The January 23rd performance review letter has been provided to her, but that letter provides that the executive director's performance in the areas of financial and personnel management will be evaluated again at the close of FY 2020. Going forward, the executive committee will resume performance evaluations following the close of the fiscal year. So the idea is going forward that at the end of the fiscal year, and i.e. in July, ideally, the annual review would be conducted. But we want to go ahead and get into the practice of getting into that calendar. So the idea was let's resolve this before the end of June, and then pick up with that schedule next year. The only other matters that needed to be addressed were the mobile phone stipend and the cost of living increase to the salary. I believe there's consensus on that. I think that's even been resolved. Terry may be able to confirm that. But with that, that's the summary, Mr. Chairman. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions from executive committee members? I do want to just confirm that we did resolve the COLA and the phone piece. Is anybody
Yes,
here to speak to that?
yes, Mr. Chairman, we did.
Okay, all right, great.
Great, thank you.
So I think based upon Eric, what you're saying is we can kind of go and close this piece out. I mean, the organization is in good financial shape, which you're going to hear when Martha presents the budget in a few. I think you're going to give some highlights in the exec meeting, right, Martha? All right. And so we're going to hear that we're in a good place, I think, with our employees. We're in a stable place. I mean, we talked about this at the end of January, and pretty much the beginning of March, everything has just been abnormal. And so we haven't been able to physically sit down and meet. Martha and I still stay in contact. And so I think based upon the objective that we were looking to just kind of make sure we were in a good place by the end of the fiscal year, I think well, I can't speak for you, but I would assume the consensus is we are, and that we can continue to move forward starting July 1. Does that sound right, Eric?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right, are there any comments or concerns as it relates to what Eric and I just shared?
So Eric, you said that a letter was received by Martha. Has she received the actual review, or is that the letter, or is there a need to actually deliver feedback?
Yeah. So we actually go ahead, Eric. You go ahead and take it. Go ahead. I'll let you share.
Well, there was several meetings back in December, January timeframe among the members of the executive committee that were asked to address this with Martha. And the letter January 23rd pretty well resolved her annual review for that time to get her caught up. At that time, there were some concerns and questions about the financial status of the agency, but it was heading in the right direction, and I think that's continued to be the case over the past few months. And then the personnel management matter has stabilized as well. So that feedback was provided to Martha, and per Chairman Nelson's comments, I believe that those situations have only improved. And so I believe it's been resolved, and she's been provided the feedback, and everything's been taken care of.
Okay, great.
All right, any other comments? If not, let's go ahead and move into new business. I see review of commission meeting agenda. So I guess the next piece is that you? That's you, right, Martha? The annual budget. Who is that? Is that you or Terry? Okay, all right. There you go. Floor is yours.
Just trying to unmute. Yes, I will not do a thorough review because you will hear the presentation in the full commission meeting, but our Audit, Facilities, and Finance Committee, chaired by Dr. Spagna, and also with membership with Mrs. Page from this committee, did meet 2 Fridays ago to review our FY 2021 draft budget. They have advised us to put this forward with a recommendation to the executive committee for a recommendation to the full commission to approve. We have, just to orient you, and I'll talk about this in the full commission, we have 2 sort of looks at the budget. Here is the complete budget that summarizes all of our federal funding, state funding, local funding, private funding, totaling in projected for FY 2021 just under $4 million at $3.946 million. These funds are based on the award letters that we have in hand and or award requests that we have submitted to our funding agencies. I'll tell you, we're probably at about a 95% confidence that these dollars will be realized in the fiscal year, or rather awarded in the fiscal year. And we've ratcheted the total award numbers down a little bit just based on what we think we can actually be reimbursed for in the coming 12 months. On the expense side, the expenses are also oriented in the same format that you're used to. Generally speaking, I'll point out a couple of exceptions to that, but our salaries and wage column, professional fees, office expense, program expenses. That program expense category is inclusive of our pass-through, and that is a very sizable portion of our budget. As you can see, our pass-through dollars total just over $1 million themselves. So our real operating budget is more around the $3 million mark, but we do pass through a sizable amount of money to activities that happen in the region. Expenses are coming in totaling just under $4 million at 3.77. So we are looking at a projected net operating income for the year. This table here summarizes that. That net operating income for the year is at $175,000. We have made some modifications to the format in this coming fiscal year just to be a little bit more proactive in preparing for those entries that typically occur at year end, including depreciation. So Terry has estimated a depreciation amount at about $21,000. Obviously, that'll be formalized at the end of next fiscal year. We've also added an additional line here that provides for a transfer to reserves. So that would be the $101,000 is basically the excess. And so I have instituted sort of a management objective. This is something above and beyond the board's goal for contributions to the fund balance, but a set aside each year is a management target of mine to set aside the equivalent of 5% of local dues. And so this coming year, we're projecting that. And so the remainder, the $175,000 of the net operating income from the budget, less the depreciation expense estimate, less the 5% set aside, results in that $101,000 amount that we would be projecting to transfer to fund balance. So I would say all in all, especially given the uncertainty, and the executive or the audit committee talked about this at length in their meeting, you know, I think we feel pretty confident about this budget, but certainly confidence in many things is not high right now given to the economic uncertainty. So just as the localities, I think many have adopted a practice where they will be reviewing the budget on a quarterly basis, we are recommending the same. So the action for the full commission this morning would be, after reviewing the budget, and I have a presentation that walks through this in more detail. The recommendation from the Audit, Facilities, and Finance Committee is to approve the budget as presented, but with the caveat that while in the personnel category, salaries and wages, we do provide for an increase in expense there related to addition of new staff members, and we talked about this at the last meeting. The recommendation is that we put a hold on actually advertising and filling those positions until after at least the first quarter, where we can review quarterly statements and can evaluate the merit of that at a later date. So the two caveats with the budget approval is that while the figures are here, we would not move forward with the introduction of those 3 new positions. We would stay at our current staffing level. And then the other caveat is that we would review the budget on a quarterly basis for the board to react to Audit, Facility, and Finance Committee's recommendations. And I'd be happy to let Terry or Dr. Spagna chime in if I've missed anything.
George Spagna speaking. I would just note that the proposed budget for the next year, and it says this in the comment notes, but the local member dues are proposed to be reduced from 55 cents per capita to 50 cents per capita.
Yes, thank you. And we have communicated that following the committee meeting to the local government CAOs and managers to make sure that they are aware that we've accounted for that in our planning. Happy to answer any questions. I think I know that was fast. I and the other items on the agenda, but we would look for a recommendation from this committee to the full commission with this item.
All right, are there any questions for Martha, Dr. Spagna, Terry? Terry, if you have anything you want to add, I would say go ahead. If not, then just be on standby.
I'd like to point out that Martha and I made a change at the very bottom of the budget. We went ahead and relocated the capital outlay cost so that they're accounted for actually as an asset and they're immediately depreciated rather than waiting till the end of the year when we close the books and then putting the asset into the fixed asset numbers. We're doing it in the month that it takes place. That's why we see that the capital outlay is below the net income line.
Okay, thank you for that Thank you for that, Terry. Anybody have any questions for Martha, Terry, or Dr. Spagna? All right, if not, then I think we need a motion to recommend the 20 budget. All right, I'm hearing different people. So a motion made by, was that Winslow or Spagna?
Cynthia Newbill.
Okay, Dr. Newbill is making the motion. Can I get a second?
George Spagna, second.
All right, second by Spagna. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed?
Aye.
All right. Oh, sorry, Diane, stealing your thunder. Roll call, guys, I'm sorry.
Mr. Winslow,
Aye.
Dr. Newbill,
Aye.
Mr. Spoonhour,
Aye.
Reverend Nelson,
Aye.
Dr. Spagna.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
All right, thank you. Martha, do you have anything under your executive director's report that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I'll just let everyone know, our staff continues to work in the remote setting. You know, I would say all things considered, our staff, again, have just been an amazing crew in adapting to this new environment. The uncertainty with the current predictions for what school will look like in the fall, and for whether or not, you know, the decline in cases in our community and nationally, actually, and whether that's a short-lived or a longer term thing, are certainly wearing on our staff as much as they are anyone else. But I would say, generally speaking, we are doing well. We're all, to the extent, we're all healthy, which is also a good thing, and are starting to have conversations about office reopening. We are, I think, through this experience, learning a lot about the capacity of our staff and productivity in a remote situation. So I think if we do have to return to this kind of a situation, we'll be much even better prepared than we were before. And we're looking at what options are available to us as far as reopening the office for some people to come back to work. I would say the major driver of the desire to come back into the office is around the interaction that we have all, you know, missed a lot over the last 12 weeks, and being able to be with each other and talking to one another face to face instead of through a computer screen, and the informality of being able to talk to colleagues when we want to interact and that kind of thing. But we know that in order to adhere to the social distancing guidelines and things like that, some of those things that we miss are not going to be immediately possible to us. So those conversations are happening. We're doing what most people are doing and polling the staff to understand what their needs are, what their circumstances are, and how we can best accommodate those. And I would expect that over the summer months, we will be returning some staff to the office, while others, depending on their needs and circumstances, will stay at home a bit longer. When we have an official plan in place, I'll provide that to everyone on the committee and the full commission, but wanted to share that and just convey, you know, to you all again, it was appreciated, the comments that you all made last month, and thanks to the staff. And I think they're just doing a really great job with everything that's going on.
All right, thank you. We didn't talk about that yesterday, so I had written that down for you to update us on the office, and and you did. So thank you. Anybody have any questions for Martha as it relates to office reopening? All right. Anything else, Martha, before we move to other business?
No, I think.
All right. So we need a nominating committee for the FY21 slate of officers. I mean, this time has flown by. I just figured out how to be the chair, and the time is over with already. So there are, we did this. So there are a couple of people. How many people do we need? Because two of them jump out on top of my head. Was it two?
It's 4 positions, actually. It's the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, and the treasurer.
Okay, but for the committee itself.
Oh, excuse
Yeah.
me. Sorry. I think in years past, we've just had 2. There isn't a
Right.
requirement.
All right, that's fine. So here's the deal. I want to nominate. Well, I want to suggest, and hopefully these two people will be okay with it. Dr. Spagna and Dr. Newbill as the nominating committee. Are you guys okay with that, ladies and gentlemen?
Careful who you're calling a gentleman. I told Martha I was willing to do this with the caveat that I will be rotating off Ashland Town Council and hence off of the Planning Commission at the end of this month. So the nominating committee work has to be completed before that happens.
Okay. So I'm gonna hold a shout out for you in a second. But you're saying that you can do it as long as the business is done by the end of the month. I heard Dr. Newbill chime in. What did you say, Dr. Newbill?
Yes, that would be fine, and that timeline would be great as well.
All right, awesome. Thank you, guys. So here's the deal. This is a very unique year. Usually we just do the stagger, and so you would only have to add one person. But this year is really a whole new slate, right? Who's the treasurer?
Right now, Mrs. Page is the treasurer. So
Okay, and the secretary is
Davis. Yeah.
the secretary on the PDC right now, Sean Davis.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So I'll be rotating off. Spagna won't be here. Patricia Page is the new chair of the TPO, which means that we probably wouldn't make her the chair of the PDC. So, Dr. Spagna, you and Dr. Newbill are going to have your hands full with trying to figure out a new slate of officers. But I'm here if you guys need any help, and I'm sure Martha and staff will support you moving forward. Now, whoever you guys select, the next meeting would have been July the 9th, but I'm going to put it out there on the floor that we not have. So are we not having an exec meeting and a general meeting in July?
It's up to you.
Yeah,
I put it on the agenda because we really don't have business other than election and swearing in of officers. So we can definitely meet, but I just wanted to be aware of the uncertainty that we have right now about in-person meetings.
So what's the next meeting after that? Is it August or September?
August, we could,
Okay.
the thought was we could switch our typical cancellation of August and meet in August, and that date would be August 13th. Or we could push it to September depending on what the group desires.
All right. So what are you guys thinking? Whatever it is, it's a recommendation to the group. I know right now, all of our localities other than Richmond are in phase 1, but Richmond will be in phase 2 based, as of Friday, which allows for gatherings of 50 or more. So I think that we will be covered for in-person meetings if we're comfortable with that at some point. I think if we cancel the July meeting, that would give us even more space to look at numbers, yada, 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 and determine whether or not maybe in August we're ready for an in-person meeting. That's just my 2 cents. And if we don't have much business, I don't know about you guys, but I am Zoom and GoToMeeting out. So, just to do a meeting, I'm not really all that interested in. But what do you guys think? Eric? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whatever the body wishes to do, of course, is fine. My only concern is with the Central Virginia Transportation Authority coming into being in July, and the setup of that may be depending upon action to be taken by PlanRVA. It may be prudent to have a meeting in July, or at least keep it on the books and then potentially cancel it closer to the date. Martha, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. for a little bit of background, there's conversations among the staff working group that's working on the organizational documents for the authority that PlanRVA might be in a position to provide some staffing for that organization. And so the agreements and the details of that would need to be reviewed by the board. Timeline wise, I don't know whether we'd have much information pulled together, Eric, before the end of June, but it might be wise to keep it as a placeholder and let people know that if that doesn't come to fruition, without that business, we wouldn't meet, and then we could certainly take that up in August.
That sounds good. So let's just put it out there. We won't make it an official council date, but we will let you guys know in enough time if we are going to or not going to meet. All right. Anybody else have any comments about that? All right. Thank you. Next business item again is public comment period. So if you jumped on since we started with these virtual meetings, we give 2 opportunities for public comment period. Speakers may address the commission for up to 3 minutes on any matter relevant to the body. Speakers are requested to give their name, locality in which they reside, and if appropriate, the organization they represent. Members of the body or members of the public may also submit comments through the chat function. Are there any members of the public who are here with us and wish to speak? All right, well, go ahead. I'm sorry, Martha. Were you going to say something, Martha?
Well, I was just going to let everyone know, not about public comment, but Mrs. Page has notified Terry that she's in the waiting room. I think she might be in the wrong waiting room because I do not see a message here, and she might be responding to that appointment that we were talking about earlier from Mr. Whitaker. So just want to let everybody know she's been trying to get in, but she might be in the wrong session.
All right, well, maybe can we send her a message and tell her she might be in a 9 a.m. session and not the 8:15 session. So maybe she can jump over if she wants to real quickly. I do have 2 things I want to share real quickly. I do want to thank Dr. Spagna for his service. And when we're on these regional boards and commissions, we don't get a chance to get to know our colleagues like we do when we work with them in the locality. But I do want to thank Dr. Spagna for his patient, calm, supportive approach to PlanRVA and the service that he's offered up to our finance and auditing committees. And even in the moments where there were some challenges, he was there and working with our staff led us through that. And, I actually are going to miss him serving on the board. So I just want to let you know that we appreciate you, sir, for the time that you've offered to PlanRVA and to the town of Ashland, and whatever you're going to do after June the 30th. I mean, what else is there to do but public service? But whatever you're going to do after June the 30th, we hope you enjoy it. I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in, but I did want to give Dr. Spagna an opportunity to say something as well.
Dr. Spagna, you've done a great job.
Thank you. Reverend Nelson, thank you for those kind words. It has been an honor, not always a pleasure, but it's been an honor to serve on the regional body. I think I've seen tremendous progress in regional cooperation over the relatively short time I've been on the commission, and I wish you all the best going forward.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, thank you so much. Last thing, I wanted to let you guys know, some of you may already know this, but Martha actually had a loss in her family over the past couple of weeks. And so I just wanted to ask you guys to continue to keep her family in prayer. There was a sudden loss there. So she's been in and out of the office over the last couple of weeks, trying to tend to the business of PlanRVA, but also to her family. And so just know that we appreciate you trying to do what you can to hold stuff together, all the while you're dealing with the sudden passing of a family member. So just know that we're here with you. Okay. Anybody else have any other comments before we adjourn the meeting? All right. Well, you guys have a 8-minute break, and we'll see you over in the other meeting room at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.